of Game for Real, Mark Torres. We have Elman and Jamie Coley right here.
Good evening.
Yeah, this is going to be the...
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'll just take like this the whole show. How about that?
Oh,
I'll just stand over both your shoulders. Maybe I can switch up the next. Okay, now this mic. What do you think?
I think we'll be alright. We only got 2 mics, right, Kevin?
Yeah, or 2 mics.
Okay.
You want to get one?
I wanted the night off. It's fine.
Well, let me see. I'll go look.
That's all right. We got it.
My lucky day.
So normally, like I said, I forgot my USB port, so I don't have my music and sound effects, so we're just going to have to pretend we're having an introduction right here. We're going to start recording. Remember, no cursing.
No cursing, everybody.
And we have one simple rule for everybody in the audience. Whenever I say live studio audience, you got to give me yay. All right, so let's practice. 1, 2, 3. We're in front of the live studio audience. Yay! That's all I need. Thank you.
They ask questions. You can't ask questions. Yeah.
All right, is everybody ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Yo, and welcome once again to A King from Radio, the official show of the Big Apple Con. This is your host, Mark Torres, speaking. With me for our 64th live show, courtesy of the East Meadow Public Library, which we are right now, in front of a live studio audience. I have none other than Elman Daneville.
Good evening.
And we have our special guest we're going to be talking to women about, which is awesome because he's right here. We have actor, filmmaker, producer, director, what else here?
Yeah, it's about everything, yeah.
He does everything. Patrick Devaney?
Devaney, yes.
Devaney. Oh, Patrick doesn't get no applause from the live audience. Thank you.
There's also something already, it's okay.
So as I mentioned on this week's show, we're going to be talking with Patrick, but first we have to take it away with our news. Oh, the news is brought to you in part by the fine folks of Sci-Fi.radio. That's Sci-Fi for your Wi-Fi. As well as the fine folks of the Big Apple Con, which we are the official radio show of, celebrating over 27 years of completeness and pop culture stuff. For more information, go to www.bigapplecc.com. The next convention is scheduled for March 24th and 25th, if I'm not mistaken, and tickets are on sale right now. Alright, so I just want to give a shout out to our Patreons, of which there are Danny Grillo, award-winning director Jared Burrell, Kyle Horn, Millie Cortez, Newsday famous Dresden Media, Unjikun, Shadow Art, The Hurricane, Yasmin Ray, and Rosa. If you want to have one of those shout outs, go to our website, www.itcamefromradio.com. Just for $1 a month, you get a shout out on our show. So, as normally, we start with the sad news. So, sad news for this show. We have the Buster of Dave and Buster, James Buster Corley, died recently after suicide by gunshot. Of note, according to his daughter, James had not been the same after suffering a stroke 4 months ago that caused severe damage to the communication and personality part of his brain. He was 72. We have any Dave and Buster fans in here?
Yeah.
Dave and Buster fans?
Yeah.
Yeah!
There you go, one person. Thank you very much.
So many jokes here.
What do you have?
He's putting his thing on brand. James Buster Corley busted himself in the head, or a gunshot, you know. I mean, there's just so many jokes here. He's busted, Buster, but, you know, we don't do suicide jokes on this show.
That's very terrible. And remember, you have to enunciate the microphone.
I'm trying to this.
So, moving on to the next bit of sad news. Actor Earl Bowen also died recently from lung cancer. While appearing in such film/TV shows and animated projects such as The Streets of San Francisco, What's Happening, Wonder Woman, Last of the Good Guys, Buck Rogers in the 21st Century, The Man with Two Brains, Mama's Family, Annihilator, Alien Nations, My Stepmother's an Alien, LA Law, Mark for Death, Naked Gun, 33 and a Third, The Final Insult, The Odd Couple Part 2, All-American Hero, Nutty Professor 2, The Clumps, G.I. Joe, the movie, The Further Adventures of Super Ted, Skeleton Warriors, The Fantastic Voyage of Sinbad Sailor, Spider-Man, Kim Possible, Zork, Grand Inquisitor, and Toy Story 2, Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue, just to name a few. Earl is perhaps best known for his role of Dr. Peter Zimmerman in the Terminator franchise, Part 1, 2, and 3, and Mr. Bleakman in the Clifford the Red Big Dog series, as well as Police Chief Konfiki, K-N-I-F-K-Y in the Disney series Bonkers. You familiar with Terminator?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, fan of Terminator. We have any fans of Terminator in the audience? Yeah. What about you, fan of Terminator?
They might want to terminate me after my last comment, so I'll be quiet.
Okay. He was 81 years old. So let's see. And for the last bit of sad news, actor Adam Rich also died recently. As of this recording, no cause of death has been announced. While perhaps best known for his role of Nicholas Bradford, the youngest son on the television series 8 is Enough, which ran from 112 episodes from 1977 to 1981. Adam also appeared in such shows as Tutiki and His Search for a Merry Christmas, The Devil and Max Devlin, Code Red, Dickie Roberts' former child star, and the animated Dungeons & Dragons TV series, which ran from 1983 to 1985 on CBS. Of note, Adam reprised his role of Nicholas in the 2 reunion movies on 8 is Enough, Wedding and an 8 is Enough family reunion. He was 54. I was a huge Dungeons & Dragons fan, the cartoon, the animated series. Were you aware of that show?
Yeah, I was. Started playing D&D a couple of years before that. So yeah, we were well aware of the TV show. We used to watch it all the time and compare like what we were actually doing to what they were showing on the show.
What about you, then? Are you a fan? Are you aware of Dungeons & Dragons, animated series, or anything? 8 is Enough?
I'm aware of people who play the game, but I don't know about the game itself.
That's fair enough.
This is the case where I look like what it sounds like.
Gotcha. I was a big Dungeons & Dragons fan. I love the animated series, and a lot of old cast members of shows that I watched was on that show. Charles in Charge had Willie Ames was on there from Happy Days. Was Don Most was on there as well.
Sure.
And so watching that show, I had no idea that the kid from 8 is Enough was in the Dungeons & Dragons television series.
But he had enough.
And he had very nice. I need a drum roll for that. So moving on. So that's it for the sad news. So moving on to the not as sad news. From the editor insert clip here department, none other than IDW is bringing back the 1980s Dungeons & Dragons cartoon as a 4-part comic miniseries. Dungeons & Dragons Saturday Morning Adventures is a new comic that will bring back Hank, Sheila, Diana, Presto, Bobby, Eric, and you for new adventures to fight the war against Venture, and is described as danger lurks at every turn. The enigmatic Dungeon Master is less than helpful, and Venture, the force of evil, will stop at nothing to get his hands on the magical weapons that the kids have come to rely on. To top it off, Hank has made some startling discoveries. Despite the dangers, Sheila, Bobby, Diane, and the others aren't so sure they want to go home after all. As I mentioned, I was a huge fan of Dungeons & Dragons, and for years, I was looking for that final episode that had aired. It only aired one time on CBS, and going to conventions, going to the bootleg guy with the tapes, you always had to try and find.
I remember those guys, absolutely.
Yeah. And I finally found the episode, and then years later, thanks to the internet, I found that they had made one other script that was never filmed. And what was really cool is that if you go on YouTube right now and search up Dungeons & Dragons, the original Sheila actress got together with some comic book creators, and they did a story. They made a comic book based on the script for the original unaired episode, and then they made an audio pilot of it. So you can go on it, you can see them doing the voices, and she was the original Sheila, so they got her to do the voice, and they got other people to do the voices of the show, and then you can see how the story is actually resolved. And for you fans who are unaware of that, they actually made a commercial, a car commercial, recently. I believe it was a Super Bowl commercial last year, maybe a year ago, where they had the Dungeons & Dragons kids, and they were being attacked, and the car rescues them, and the car takes them home, so it resolves the entire series.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
You're looking at me with 8 heads, you have no idea what I'm talking
I've
about.
been living in a dungeon. I don't know about Dungeons & Dragons. I feel like a dragon sometimes.
So moving on. Moving on from the.
Let's go to the interview with it. Can
We're getting there. We're getting there. We got 15 more minutes to go.
We're just
more
in
news. So from the That's a Lot of Nuts department. The first unofficial weekend of box office receipts are in, and the new Avatar movie is the highest grossing film of 2023 so far, with $116.6 million, followed by Puss in Boots at $32.4 million, which I saw. Now, what's interesting is that the first new film of the calendar year, which is Megan, which is a horror film about a killer girl robot doll that launched itself into the third spot with only $30.4 million. So right now, the only new movie that came out this year was Megan. It's already at the number 3 spot. Do you think it's going to hold on for the rest of the 50 weeks?
For 50 weeks? No.
Until the end of the year.
No. Megan? No.
Okay. Did you
No.
see Megan? Should
I want to though. I saw some trailers. Yeah, no, it's very interesting. The AI bit, girl is a killer. It's like Chucky, It's like Chucky, but
I
AI.
haven't seen it.
It's like Chucky with morality.
Chucky was
Gone
wrong.
wrong.
Okay. But Chucky gets a makeover.
Did anybody in the audience see Megan?
Yeah.
One guy saw
Thumbs
it.
up, thumbs down.
What is it?
Who did he like? Thumbs. He has one thumb
One
up,
thumb
one
up,
thumb
one thumb
down.
down.
So it was halfway.
It was okay.
It was okay, he said.
Just
Fine,
thoughts.
fine.
Okay. Well, that's healthy. If the healthiest people usually have responses, you're usually on one side or the other, you're usually a little crazy. So that's a good sign. It's a good sign.
Alright, so moving on. From that was a short retirement department. None other than retired WWE chairman Vince McMahon has announced that he is returning to the company after stepping down just a few months ago as the company gears up for negotiations over media rights and strategic alternatives. Vince said, you want to read Vince McMahon? You want to read what Vince said right there? This is Vince McMahon speaking.
The only way for WWE to fully capitalize on this opportunity is for me to return as executive chairman and support the management team in the negotiations for our media rights and to combine that with the review of strategic alternatives. My return will allow WWE as well as any transaction counterparties to engage in these processes knowing they will have the support of the controlling shareholder.
Of note, Vince, while stepping down over to control the company, leaving his daughter and son-in-law in charge, did retain a majority share of stocks of the company, which essentially gives him final say over all voting decisions. While writing this bit of news, none other than Stephanie McMahon posted this announcement. It reads in part,
About 8 months ago, I took a leave of absence and within a few weeks, unexpectedly had the opportunity of a lifetime. I had the privilege to return as the co-CEO and chairwoman of the board of the WWE. Our founder, Vince McMahon, has returned as executive chair. I'm confident WWE is in the perfect place to continue to provide unparalleled creative content and drive maximum value for shareholders. WWE is in such a strong position that I have decided to return to my leave and take it one step further with my official resignation.
so to top all things off, and this is all due to rumors that WWE is up for sale and may be purchased by either Comcast, Amazon, and or Endeavor, which owns UFC. We talked about Vince McMahon sitting down and how big of a deal it was, and how I believe our senior correspondent Charles Salvini was saying that it didn't really make a difference because he still had majority of shareholders, so he was still kind of in charge, not really.
Yeah. Well, there
So
was
he just voted himself back in.
There was some, he's in hot water, some
So,
allegations or.
He did leave during the allegations of sexual misconduct, that's the official term, that he paid $15 million over the course of the years for hush money, and then they said anything anyway. But there was no formal charges brought, and then he decided to step down while that was still going on. That news went away, and a couple months later, he's like, I'm going to vote myself back to being in charge because he was
This
the
was all
mayor.
planned. Maybe it's just optics. Like, oh, I'll step down to appease them. Or maybe he stepped down and is like, okay, I gave them what I needed. Maybe they'll forget. Because there's so many there's so many scandals going on. It's like, okay, Dr. Fauci, let's focus on that. So we can come back now. Because people maybe forgot about his sexual allegations.
What do you think?
People tend to forget a lot of things if it's not constantly right in front of them. So if he can hide for a little while and just spend hundreds of millions of dollars.
Maybe Chris D'Elia now is in the news, and he's like, oh, the spotlight's on him now. I can step up and take my throne back.
Yeah, if he still had the controlling shares of it, I mean, he could just do whatever he wanted.
Yes.
Maybe people didn't like the daughter running things.
Well, apparently to the quote-unquote fans, they were loving the creative content and how the shift had changed on that side. But creative content and then the financials is two different things. So maybe the financial end, they weren't making the money that they wanted because despite everything, of all the complaints of WWE, they were making money hand over fist. They were doing billions of dollars in business despite the quote-unquote product not being as good as they had fans perceived it to be. So now the fans are happier with Vince gone because the son-in-law is in charge of creative, he's coming back to make the stockholders and the business end happy. It's interesting.
It is very interesting. I wonder what the real story is. We'll never know.
That's true. We will never really know.
We'll never know.
So moving on, I believe we have two more. From the That's Quite a While to Wait department. Due to a California law that temporarily suspended the statute of limitations for older claims of child sexual abuse, none other than Olivia Hussey and Leonard Whiting has filed suit against Paramount Pictures for sexually exploiting them and distributing nude images of them as adolescent children in the 1968 version of Romeo and Juliet. The scene in question was a bedroom scene where they show Leonard's naked butt and Olivia's breasts. The suit alleges that Franco Zeffirelli, the director of the film, who died in 2019, assured both actors that there would be no nudity in the film and that they would wear flesh-colored undergarments in the bedroom scene. However, in the final day of the filming, the director allegedly implored them to perform nude without body makeup, or, quote, the picture would fail. The actor's manager says, you want to read what the actor's manager says? Okay.
What we were told and what went on were two different things. They trusted Franco. At 16, actors took his lead that he would not violate the trust they had. Franco was their friend, and frankly, at 16, what did they do? There were no options. There was no Me Too movement.
According to the complaint, both actors have suffered mental anguish and emotional distress in the 55 years since the film's release, and also have lost out to a lot of job opportunities as they are seeking damages, believed in excess of $500 million. Do you want me to go to see what they said?
The lawyer says nude images of minors are unlawful and shouldn't be exhibited. These were very young, naive children in the 60s who had no understanding of what was about to hit them. All of a sudden, they were famous at a level they never expected. And in addition, they were violated in a way they didn't know how to deal with. So let's just wait 55 years and see later.
However, of note, in a 2018 interview with Variety, Olivia was quoted as defending the nude scene, saying, "Nobody my age had done that before. It was needed for the film. It wasn't that big of a deal." And Leonard, which was the co-host, wasn't shy at all. In the middle of shooting, I completely forgot I didn't have any clothes on. So as a female actress, if someone said that to you, that no nudity in the contract, and then they say we need you to be nude in the setting, first what you do?
I mean, it's all about what you feel comfortable on set that day. I mean, I'll give you a parallel story to switch a little bit. So as a model, I had a photographer tell me to do a photo shoot. I spent hours packing clothes, classy clothes, and then asked me to basically go into, said, no, none of this will work, none of this will look good in the magazine, none of this. You have to wear a see-through fishnet outfit. And basically like bullied me to wear it. It did look good, but I sort of was comfortable. The whole situation is ridiculous. It's almost switcheroo, which is very common on sets. But if you agree to do something, it's holding a gun to your head, which didn't happen to me. I don't like the photographer. I wouldn't recommend him, but it was my choice. So I can't go back and sue the guy. That's kind of my similar thoughts on that. But they were 16, so it's a little extra sleazy. But also, their whole case is broken because it's been 55 years.
And the director is dead. Like, what are you going to do? So, Patrick, what do you think if you're in a situation where you have actors or actresses that had a no nudity clause, but then you're making a movie, you're like, what, this scene needs them to be nude. Does that ever happen? Is that something you think would happen?
Has it happened to me? No. Has it happened every single day in this industry? Absolutely. I had kind of the opposite experience though. We had done a film a number of years ago. We had a film a couple of years ago, and it did call for one nude scene in a bathtub, and the actress agreed to it. Once she got there though, she felt very uncomfortable and said, "I can't do this." And there were some people on the set that were kind of pissed off about that, and then cooler heads prevailed, and most of us were like, well, what are you going to do? Stripper yourself? What are we going to do here? Or do you make this work? Do you make the person who's now has changed their mind feel more comfortable? And we did. You know, and we did it in a different way. And it was still the same impact. It was a dream sequence, so you could do it any way you want anyway. You know, but the key point with here is it doesn't matter where it was or where it was. These are minors, and a minor is a minor. And when I've worked with minors before, and my rule is that not only are there certain things that you have to put into place for that. One of your parents got to be there in the room with you at all times. And even these are people I knew for a long, long time. Like, nope, if your parent isn't there, or you can't have someone be there for you, you're not in this. It's as simple as that. Because then the eyes are on everything. You know. But 1968. I mean, I was born in 1968. So I mean, this was a long time ago, and things. It was a different world. And I'm not saying that it's right, but it's a completely different world.
Did anybody ever watch that Romeo and Juliet from 1968? I haven't seen it. And the audience has seen it?
Yeah.
Audience has seen it, yes. We have one person in the audience.
They made me watch it in school.
You had to watch it in school, she says.
Yeah.
Was it necessary for the film for them to be naked? Did it make an impact on you watching it?
They didn't need to be nude.
They didn't need to be nude.
No. But they were very young. They were kids.
But they were very young.
They looked young in them, and for you to see those two kids.
You can see those two
Get
kids.
naked and have
Yeah. Wait, so you went to school and you saw naked people and it was fine?
I was at Catholic school.
Catholic school and you saw naked people was like, I don't know if that's better or worse.
I served 12 years in Catholic
There's
school. Yes. Most certainly yes.
Alright, so moving on to the final bit of news. From the Holy Baby Shower Batman department. In the recently released issue of Joker, The Man Who Stopped Laughing, it is revealed that none other than the Clown Prince of Crime, due to a spell cast on him by Zatanna, was pregnant and gave birth to his own son. It turns out that in his latest scheme to steal Gotham's water supply, the Joker crashes and is defeated by Zatanna, who is most famous for using backward spells. The spell in question was translated to say, "No one else will have your baby," which in turn makes him pregnant, and then after waking up the next day, he's 9 months pregnant, spits out a blob of sentient muck, which swiftly changes into a newborn Joker. So what do you think of a male pregnant Joker having his own son?
It's very 2023. It's very on brand. I don't know. I feel like it's been done a lot in the last 2 years. I feel like we should move on to just women having babies again. Just break the trends with women giving birth, because that's kind of rare now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all about men giving birth. It's like it's been done.
It's been done already.
Yeah, it's enough.
Alright, what do you think of that? After the Joker giving birth to his own son?
I'm absolutely sick of men having babies. Myself, I had no idea that was a thing. But if the grand thing with Batman, Joker, and everything else for me, let's get a new idea. Let's get something else. Let's just please try something new. There's 15 Batmans, there's 19 Jokers, there's everything. It's like, let's just get some other kind of thing going.
Well, this is different.
But it is different. It is different. I don't think that was Disney.
This is Warner Brothers. This is
definitely
Warner
different.
Discovery.
Right.
I think I remember in the old days, this was before I was born, when you go look at the old comic books, and they have like the description of the comic inside or what's going to be on the cover. They had some really crazy ideas back then. So having a pregnant Joker, while might be motivated in different reasons why it was done, I say, why not? Let's see what happens. And all that matters to me is if the story is good. So if the story is good and this makes sense, I say go for it. Unfortunately, just by reading this, it sounds like nonsense, but I will give them the benefit of the doubt. I saw there was this big thing about the new Scooby-Doo series that doesn't have Scooby-Doo in it, and Velma's a black girl, and Daphne's Asian now, and Shaggy is now called Marvel, which is his real name, and he's also black, and it's by Mindy Kaling. And when I heard about it, it has no Scooby-Doo. You listen to all the interviews, they're saying, oh, we want to take a new take on it, we want to be different, we want to be this, and I saw the images, I'm like, this looks really bad, I don't want to see it. It has nothing to do with Scooby-Doo, especially having a Scooby-Doo show without Scooby-Doo in it. Before the premiere to this live show, I saw the trailer.
You think there was someone that identified as Scooby-Doo and they just didn't realize?
No, they said in the news, no Scooby-Doo is going to be in a new Scooby-Doo movie. Television series.
Is it still called Scooby-Doo something?
It's called Velma. It's just called Velma because it's all about Velma.
So it's just Velma.
But
I thought it was called Scooby-Doo and like,
but after seeing the trailer, I thought it looked funny, and I'm just going to take it as its own entity as opposed to being Scooby-Doo. We have a question from the audience.
It's not a question, but a statement.
Statement.
Yeah, and also they have Daphne's. Daphne is selling drugs.
Daphne is selling drugs. You see? So
she probably noticed was she was very, very thin. Yeah. So yeah, that might have been a problem way back then.
So on face value, it looked really bad, it looked really stupid. But after watching the trailer, I can see the humor in it, and I will be able to distance myself from the source material and watch it as it is if it looks entertaining. So it goes by saying with this Joker happening.
You said it looked bad, so now I want to see
it. It looked bad, but the trailer made me, it gave me one ass. They saw the trailer, it looks funny, I will give it a try. Okay. And if I don't like it, I won't watch it, and that'll be the end of it, as opposed to making a whole campaign about it. So normally, we're going to take our break. I would have music and stuff, so we're going to take our break. We're going to take a 2-minute break, and we'll be right back with the game on the radio. Give me a sound for the last of the audience. So you're going to have to talk more into it because you sound very low. You're good. Okay. So this would be the part of the show where I have a commercial playing. Like I said, I forgot my flash drive and having music and stuff, but it's not coming out. So I apologize for that.
You can just try to sell them stuff.
Look at that clicking all throughout the.
You heard clicking?
Yeah, the clicking throughout the. It might get in your recording too.
I guess we'll find out.
Thanks for this mic.
To talk right to the.
Well, yes, I'm trying to.
So talk that way. So even if you want to talk to me, still turn that way. That goes for you too. You gotta talk towards the radio.
Oh, right. I'm like focused on this mic.
All right. And welcome back to the Game Radio. This is Make Up Comments. Your host Mark Torres speaking. We are here for our 64th live show in person since the pandemic. First time in the East Melbourne Library since 2019, I believe. Right? 2019. In front of a live studio audience.
Yeah! Woo!
I'm here with Anthony.
Good evening.
And I'm here with Patrick Devaney. Hello. So I want to mention that the East Melbourne Library has tons and tons of programs, most of which are free. You go to www.eastmel.info for more information. One thing that they have is our show, which is the second Wednesday of every month. Our next live show will be on the 8th of February, and we have, there's a paper right there, I have paper right there, the blue one on top. Yes, they're grabbing the whole thing. We have, on Wednesday, February 8th, we have co-founder and CEO of the Artisans Nook, Brittany Pleasant. She does crocheting, and we will have prizes to give in at every live show you guys come down, so make sure you guys come down to the East Melbourne Public Library and get some stuff. Everybody gets a raffle ticket, and we give away prizes. We actually have a prize that we're going to give away this week, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And what is the prize we're going to give away at the end of the show?
Well, a lot of people don't know how things are done on set. So what we have is a script from something I shot several years ago that has a copy of the shot list and how we actually did it that day, and also a copy of the script that my assistant director matched certain lines to the shot list, and you can see all her notes inside of it. So it's pages and pages of all her handwritten notes that were happening as we were filming. So it's one of those things that you never really see, outside of being on set. So that's what we have today.
So you have a
matching script and a shot list. Yeah.
Behind the scenes script and shot list.
Yes.
All right, so Patrick, I guess let's start off with a little introduction of yourself. What do you do? Who are you? And how did you wind up doing that you do?
Yes. Hello, everybody. My name is Patrick Devaney. I'm an independent filmmaker, writer, and editor. I'm also
Well, you don't clap because you don't know stuff's any good yet.
I'm also active in a number of different projects. I've spent years doing background and featured work on television, and I kind of live for this. I love independent film. I'm seeing some people I've worked with in the studio, which is wonderful. Some actors and some writers I work with, and that's what I do. I love it. I've been doing it since 2005, and every single day of my life is working something towards that type of work, whether it's writing or editing or the next project coming out.
Okay, so countless people want to make movies, but they think, oh, I can't do that, or they don't have the skills to do that. And then there's a bunch of delusional people that think, oh, I can definitely do that, but they really, really can't. So what made you initially think, I can make movies, I can? What? Yeah.
I was a performing musician back in the 80s, and I loved being on stage, I loved performing. And I kind of gave that up for a while, and what I was seeing was that people with new technology, they didn't really have to cut celluloid film anymore. They could film with palm recorders, they could film whatever they had. And I saw a lot of people that were popping up on public access television. Every community has that. You just look on your cable, you'll find public access, and you'll find some very crazy things. Today it's mostly like church shows and things like that. But at the time, in 2004, 2005, people were doing scripted work.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, wow, if they're doing this, we could be doing this. And I knew enough people that had gone to film school, and there's some people that wanted to get involved in things. And when I was growing up, my favorite thing in the world was Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. And I said, there's no zombies on television. We could definitely do this. Why are we not seeing this? And I said, we're just gonna have to make our own. And that's what we did. And we made a show called Zombie Hunters City of the Dead. And we filmed it with camcorders. And we asked everyone we knew who had any kind of experience whatsoever doing this. And we launched it from there. And in the course of the run of the show, we had maybe 500 to 600 people work on it. All volunteers going over the course of maybe like 13, 14 years. And it launched a lot of careers. There are people doing professional makeup on gigantic Hollywood sets right now, starting with us.
This was all public access.
This was started on public access. It played on public access for years. We wound up getting national distribution on DVD. They played us everywhere. They played us at one point. They were playing. I got a call from the state of California and asked if they wanted to if we could show it in their correctional facilities. And I'm like, you want to show something this violent in jails? And they're like, yeah, the guys will love it. And I said, absolutely, why not? You know? And I said, yeah, anything that's going to give them entertainment, they're going to enjoy. I'm like, yeah, we can do that. So that was another aspect of it. But I had seen other people doing it, and I said, we could definitely do this, and why not? And we've been doing it ever since.
Is that an untapped captive audience, the prison?
It's a very captive audience, yes, as it turns out, yes.
Did you ever think you would make something specifically for prisoners in prison?
No, it never even dawned on me, and it was strange because at the time my co-writer was an active police officer with the NYPD, and I called and I said to him, listen, we got this opportunity, what do you think? He said, hey, listen, I'm all for it. He said, I'm absolutely all for this. He's like, you know, it is what it is, and why would we turn down any audience? And I said, yeah, that sounds cool with me, and I gave him permission to do it. As far as I know, it's still on closed circuit TV and throughout the entire state of California penal system.
So do you suggest people getting arrested and going to jail to watch the stuff?
No, there's a lot easier ways to do it. You can pretty much go online now, so you can do that for free, and you know, it's felonies are expensive. So yeah, no.
You get a free shot and food and room and board.
Well, yeah, you definitely could. You know, a lot of friends. Yes.
Alright, so like everyone and their mother wants to collaborate now. Collaboration's started popular, especially in the last few years. So what are some deal breakers that would prevent you from collaborating with someone, either, you know, having them as part of the crew, or writing with you, or acting, or what's some things that you see where you're like, okay, no. Yeah.
I've been very lucky in this that I haven't really dealt with this much, but if I see anyone being disrespectful to anyone, especially women, it's automatically out. Automatically out. Any lewd jokes, any comments, hitting on anyone, done.
What if you heard they were disrespectful, but you didn't see it yourself?
I'll tell you, that's a really good point. That can be tough. I worked with an actress years ago who was nothing but nice to me and was great on set. And some other actresses said to me that she was saying things to them when I wasn't around, putting them down, saying, the reason you're not getting in front of the camera more is because you put on a lot of weight. If you were just prettier, if you were thinner, if you were this. And I said, that doesn't sound like anyone that I would work with.
Right.
But about a year later, someone who had never been on a set with me before and didn't know any of the people told me a similar story about that one particular actress. And I've never worked with her again.
Interesting.
So it's like with this corroboration there, it's like I would talk to her first, but how can that same story show up from people who've never met each other?
Right.
So that's very rare. I'm very lucky in that most people are not like that. But any kind of disrespect. I also run a very dry set. There's no drinking, there's no drugs, there's no nothing. And there are people who have said to me, why don't you call me to work? And I'll say, because you're always high.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wait, people don't know that I'm high. Like, everyone knows that you're high. You don't know that everybody knows that you're high. So it's like that kind of thing. But that's, again, I only had to handle that a couple of times.
Well, what about if they're drinking or getting high afterwards? Because sometimes, it's not on the set, but they do it in their life a lot. They keep it off the set.
If they when we're done shooting for the day, I hope that people don't go drinking and driving home. But whatever they want to do afterwards, whatever they do afterwards.
Right.
Sometimes
it leads into it.
Yeah, I've taken people out to restaurants afterwards, taken them out to a bar, we will have a drink afterwards. When I used to drink, and I don't think that's a problem. That's not a problem. Socializing beforehand. I have a film coming up in April where there's going to be several people that all comprise one family, and it's a conflict within that family. And I'm going to get them all into a restaurant and just see how they are with each other, and get them used to each other, and get them talking to each other and things like that. So that when we're on set, I'm having them tell a story, something personal or something whatever they want to share, and then when they're there, they're going to know those little things about each other, and it's just going to help. So there probably will be a few bottles of wine that night, yes. Just not when we shoot.
Makes sense.
So the two of you who are sitting right next to me, my co-host Jane Felding and Patrick here, are both filmmakers in their own right. But one's a woman and one's a male, as they identify as, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So can you describe the differences of working as a male in the industry, and then you can describe working as a female in the industry? Because that's always a big thing. I think it's just you make good crap and then keep moving, but apparently people like women in the industry get treated more unfairly, or they get treated as a less of than just a person that makes stuff. So in your experiences as a man, do you see that happening with women? And your experiences, Jen, do you see that as well? Yeah.
It's hard. I can only really speak from my own point of view on that. I really can't.
Well, that's
I tell fellas on my sets, like, we're going to be respectful. We're going to, no screwing around. This isn't a frat house. Don't be jerks. I'll give you an interesting story though. How there's still such a separation of things. I also run a couple of film festivals, and I had asked my judges this, 1 year, about 2 years ago, and it still holds true to this day. I would like to combine Best Actor and Best Actress awards for just Best Actor. Why can't it be that? All the guys said, yeah, I'm fine with that. All the women said, we're not there yet. And I said, but isn't it that equality? He said, yeah, but if you do that 90% of the time, a guy's going to win. And I went, that was across the board. That was everyone I spoke to that was involved in it, individually. So I'm like, okay, so this is something that I'm seeing that I wasn't aware of.
Maybe just make 2 Best Actor awards, so then there's 2 shots.
I mean,
that's one way around it. Well, you can have a fight in the middle once you have the best male.
You have to.
Yeah.
But just bare knuckles though, like it has to, yeah.
You have to fight it out.
But that was something that I had seen that I wasn't really that aware of, and it was not what I was expecting, but I respected it, and they were like, yeah, we'd love for that to happen. It's just we're not there yet.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. Or, things that I don't know if
it's not really a problem being a female. I don't think it's never for me. I feel like
Right,
I really haven't dealt with too much unprofessionalism in acting and modeling, yeah. But it's really what happens after, like when we meet people on set. Like someone on set just invited me to go to the Poconos the other day. I don't know you. What do you think? I'm an escort? Like I mean, I think men might get that too from women, you know, trying to date them, but I don't know. Or it's just a lot of garbage in the social media messenger inbox, and also if they get your texts, which has also happened this week, you're gonna get a lot of nonsense messages. Men get that too, but I think there's more from the men I talked to. I think this week almost been a very weird weekend. It's a lot of saying no constantly, and it's really annoying today. That's my biggest gripe today. It's like, why are you asking these things? So that's something I encounter as a woman, just like dealing with the inbox, which I try not to even open. It's a disaster.
So Patrick, you said you were a musician before you decided to be a filmmaker.
Yes.
What musical instrument did you play?
I played keyboards and bass guitar, depending on the music we were playing. If I was in a punk band, it was always bass. If it was more like more. I actually played a lot of funk music. Believe it or not, people don't think it, but yeah. But I was in some bands like that, and that was always a lot of fun. The best musicians I ever met were through bands like that, and we played all over Manhattan. You know, we played all over the place. In some of the bigger clubs in the city. It was wonderful.
Do you score your own movies then?
I'm just starting to do that now. I've contributed music to 2 films that I was involved in, and the one that I'm shooting this April, I intend on scoring the entire thing myself for the first time. I've built a production studio in my apartment, so that's I'm trying to do everything out of that, ultimately including animation.
Right, that's the way to do it. Just learn almost everything yourself and do it in-house. It's much easier. You can do the music part of it. The people I know that can do that, it's just such a game changer. If you can do your own music and editing and filming, and also you're in front of the camera too. So I read that you were a director first, and then you jumped in front of the camera. So what made you jump in front of the camera? You just couldn't deal with like all the actors. They were really
I've had enough of these damn actors, and I want to do it myself. I'll do it all myself. Every single role, yeah. We redo the room while the airplane.
That's what I was thinking the entire time I was talking. I was like, this
No, I cast myself in one of the roles when I first started directing, just because I really wanted to do it as well. But it's funny. Like most people start out doing like some basic nondescript background, and they start getting some lines, they start getting some theater, they start getting some. I started off as a director, and I worked my way all the way backwards to general background in crowds. It just kind of worked that way. It made more sense to me that way because I knew that I wanted to get a certain vision out, but at the same time, I wanted to also learn other aspects. I talk about background a lot because what I did was I suggested to any actor listening to this or anyone like that, if you have not done just basic general background, do it. Because you get paid to go to film school.
Right.
You can go to sets. You know this. You go to sets and you'll see. And don't watch the actors. Watch how the different crews work. Watch the camera crew. Watch the AD. Watch what they do. Look at the carpenters. Look at the electricians. Look at the people doing craft services. Look how everything's about like how it all works. So I always suggest to anyone doing acting, and if you're an actor, try directing something. And if you're a director, try acting. You will always understand each other better.
1000%. Yeah, a friend of mine tried to do an entire sitcom with me after not being on any sets, and I tried to warn him, but he was one of these people that was so confident and a great comedy writer, but it didn't work because he hadn't been on any sets. And then he spent 2 years as a background actor and moved to California and said, "Oh, I learned so much," and now gave it another shot like 5 years later, and it's like, yeah, I told you to do this 6 years ago, buddy. You gotta be on sets before you direct and make a whole sitcom. What are you doing?
Yeah, to do something on that scale is, when we first started out, we were very lucky with certain locations. And then I talked to people if they wanted to be in it, and they did. They're not professional actors. And then when we started advancing things, then we started getting people who were more into the industry, and we started getting somewhat better results. But yeah, without having the basis of that, you don't have to go to film school, but you have to know what you're talking about. You have to see it. You know, most people don't know that when you go to a television show, each camera has a crew of 6 people. So if you have 3 cameras running around, there's 18 people who have to weave themselves in and out of each other and do it gracefully. And it's a beautiful thing to watch when you're on a big set and when you see it. It's absolutely ballet. It's absolutely beautiful.
So back to you, with Lowe's background, you're here. Are you here? Yeah, you're here.
I'm right.
And me, who knows what's real anymore? What messages or topics are you very passionate about putting in your work?
I like doing things that have some type of social justice tied to them. I did a film called Impervia, which was all about forced migration. And it was a family living out in this old house, no one around them for 100 miles in any direction, until one day the cops show up and they say, you've got to move it along. And you start thinking, well, what does this family do? Who are they? What are we looking at? And why are they being thrown out of this one little place when that's all they have? And then as the story progresses, it shows that even that extreme, what they are, who the authorities are.
What inspired you to do this? Thanksgiving?
To be honest, when I was in college, I finished with an anthropology degree, cultural anthropology, and one of the things that I focused on were forced migrations throughout time. And the story I tell people, which is true, when I was a very small boy, I was growing up in Forest Hills, and my father would bring me around to all the different shops in the neighborhood, and every now and then I would see somebody with numbers on their arm. And I didn't understand what that meant. And then as I got older, I learned what that meant. So the idea of people being marginalized, people being pushed away from their homes or brought together because they're one type of person or become the other in whatever culture that is, whatever government says they're the other. And that kind of thing, for me, I do a lot of science fiction. So that usually turns into rights of artificial intelligence and robots and things like that. But it's all an allegory for humans. So that kind of thing, I try to embody that into my work. Yeah.
Okay. So next question. Countless people have said to me, oh, I want to make a movie, but I don't have the money. So according to you, because people have varying thoughts on this one, what's the lowest budget you can have to make a feature film?
A good feature film.
Which is very subjective.
A good feature film? That's a little tricky. You can.
We're not talking about Soccer, we're talking about.
I'll try to look at it quick.
Anyone can make any kind of film they want, and I know that's kind of a little bit of a cop-out of an answer, but it's absolutely true. If you have the iPhones that everybody has in their pockets right now, is a better camera than I started with. It's as simple as that. There are film festivals that are only iPhone-based films.
Right.
And that's a growing kind of thing now. It depends what your story is. Okay, if your story is about the family life of one family in some minimum locations, you can make a feature for $10,000. All right. If your feature is out in space and you're fighting aliens, and that's a whole different thing. And I have 2 scripts right now that are going to cost me $300,000 each. I can't afford them, which is why they're scripts and not films. Yeah, but it really depends. If I won't say steal, but I would say beg and borrow, whatever that you can, and get people involved in this that may know this. We all have different kits. We have lights, we have sound, we have this, we have that, and a bunch of us definitely traded around. Bob Sosky's here right now. He's seen us do this a million times. We all trade everything around. There are ways to do this. If you have an idea for a feature, but what it comes down to is the story. If you don't have that, you have nothing. No matter what amount of money you're going to throw at this, I've seen people throw $250,000 at a film that has no story. Yeah. And they'll spend the rest of their lives paying off those loans. But you a couple $1,000 in your pocket and enough friends, things like that, you can absolutely do this, but it always comes down to a story.
Okay. As a stand-up actress, filmmaker, I've dealt with a lot of psychopaths and some really crazy situations. So could you tell us one scary situation or something that scares you as a filmmaker or actor?
What scares me is someone getting hurt on set. That's I always tell people I'm not going to make anyone do something I won't do myself. I would never do that. I've had people volunteer to do things, and I said, well, I don't want you to do that. And they're like, I really want to do that. And they'll do stunts and they'll throw themselves off things, and I'm like, that's up to you, you know. I haven't had too many problems with people that way. I've been very fortunate with that. There have been some scary moments though. We were filming the Zombie Hunter show, and at a wonderful outdoor location called Metro Interiors, and it's right a block from the Huntington station, Long Island Railroad station. And as the train slowed down, they're all pulling into the station, and we have all these people in the yard dressed up as zombies, and other people run with guns, and they're killing them. So like the zombies would go up to the fence and start like clawing the passengers, and it was pretty funny. But then the people that were National Guards people, you were there. The people who were National Guards, they go walk up to the trains with the guns, and I'm like, oh, okay, guys, no, we have to. The monsters are okay. Let's get away from the everyone with a gun, just come over to me. But we haven't had too many problems with things like that. I try to use people that I like a lot, and that I know, or there's someone else that I know can vouch for them. And if you do it that way, you're usually not going to have a lot of problems.
Yeah.
But then there are always, some people you just don't know, and then later on, you get weird things from it. So then at that point, it's just kind of smile and not use them again. Quietly.
So at the social media point of the show, tell people where they can find out more about yourself, the project, all that fun stuff. Go.
So if you guys want to know more about what I'm doing, you can go to pdevaney.com. You can find me as Patrick Devaney on Facebook. If you go to, I have a YouTube channel called Patrick's Creative Shack. It's also called Outer Dam Media. If you look that up on YouTube, you'll find all the things that we're working on. You'll find us on Vimeo. And most of my work that isn't in festivals right now are online for everyone to enjoy. We usually do that. We have a festival run. If it doesn't get picked up, then we put it online for everyone to enjoy. But pdevaney.com will link you to everything that I've been doing.
All right, so we, as I mentioned earlier in the show, Patrick was nice enough to give a script, and you stage directions on the script, right?
Yeah, you'll find stage directions on them. You will find editing notes. You'll find all kinds of things like that. It is pretty cool to see it all, and you can see from the shot list on how we shot the thing, and also matching to the script on how things changed. And also doing audibles when people would just change something. My idea, make sure that we knew that it was right. She wrote everything down. Lindsay Serrano was the director in her own right. She was my AD for a number of years, and she's fantastic. And so you'll see all her handwritten notes.
Alright, now Jennifer, will you do this on its own look? Everybody has to take it right before everybody will take it? Okay, yeah. Alright, now Jennifer, read off the number first, please.
Well, your number is 544.
544. 613. There you go.
Alright.
No one can, there you go. Look at that. The rough audience.
Look at that.
Yes, it matches up. You have the script.
You want a script?
You want a script?
Don't try to make it into a film.
I think it's getting on right now. If you, I think you have a name. Does he have a name? He does have a name. There you go. Hopefully, thank you very much. Thank you. So we are almost out of time, so we're going to have our final thoughts. So, tell me anything about it. You have any final thoughts for this week in front of a live studio audience?
Final thoughts are stay ready. You don't have to get ready if you stay ready.
Stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Alright. Patrick, do you have any final thoughts?
If you want to do this kind of thing, go out and just do it. Don't let anyone tell you you can't. Don't let your bank account tell you you can't. Don't let your mom tell you you can't. Don't let your fears tell you you can't. Go out and do it. And if you don't like the way it comes out, do it again better.
If someone tells you maybe you shouldn't, you try to do a whole feature film, maybe you should get on some sets first before you make your own.
Well, that goes for being bad.
So maybe sometimes you should listen when someone says you can't.
If they know what they're talking about, yes. If it's just something that you can't do that.
Right.
Because believe me, I heard enough of that in my life, so yeah.
So that's true. So my final thought is this. Thank you, Patrick, for being a guest on our first live show back in front of a live studio audience. And the East Meadow Public Library for having us on our 64th. We've done 64 of these.
Like audience, no on the streets, everyone visibly drunk. If you are, drink water when you get home, eat some healthy food, maybe a green juice.
So I think, Patrick, you're a really good guy. It's really interesting that I met you, but we've been around, we've had to have passed each other many times in Long Island Film Festival, so it's a pleasure meeting you. Much continued success. And when we have more stuff come back on, we can put out some more, let us know.
I would love to.
So that was those who kind of came from radio, join us right here, and we're on this radio station. If you missed any part of the show, go to our website, www.camefilmer.com. The archives will be up in a week or so. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter. Also, make sure you come to the East Meadow Public Library for our next live show, which is going to be on February the 8th. And we have CEO and co-founder of the Artisan's Nook. We have Brittany Pleasant, who's going to be on Wednesday, February 8th at 7 p.m. East Meadow Public Library. Go to www.eastmeadow.info. And with that, we will see you next time.
Take it easy.
Thank you. Listening to Came From the Radio with Mark Torres. The views of the show's hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect that of the management, owners, or staff of the station. We now return you to your earthly scheduled broadcast.